The summer had been unbearably hot. Nights were sticky. The air felt heavy, like it carried secrets. My cousin had invited me to his family's lake house for a week. It was supposed to be relaxing, fishing, swimming, sitting on the porch with a cold drink. But by the second night, I realized something was wrong. The lake house sat at the edge of the water. No neighbors close by. Just woods and silence. When night came, it was absolute darkness. No streetlights, no distant cars, just crickets and the water lapping against the dock. That second night, I couldn't sleep. The air was too thick, too still. I got up around 2 a.m., walked into the living room. The moonlight leaked in through the thin curtains. The lake shimmered in the distance, silver and black. And then I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp taps, coming from the front door. I froze. Every hair on my body stood up. Nobody was supposed to be here. Nobody even knew we were staying that week. I stood in the middle of the living room, holding my breath, hoping it was my imagination. Then, knock, knock, knock. Harder this time. I whispered my cousin's name. No response. Everyone else was asleep in their rooms. Slowly, I crept toward the door. Each step felt like it echoed. I stopped just short of the doormat. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure whoever was out there could hear it. Without touching the knob, I leaned closer. And then, I saw it. Through the thin strip of glass beside the door, a shape. Tall, still, facing the house. I stumbled backward, nearly tripped over the rug. Whoever it was didn't move. They just stood there, waiting. I grabbed my phone, but there was no signal. Of course. The nearest tower was miles away. The knocking started again. Slower now, almost playful. Knock, knock, knock. I ran to my cousin's room, shook him awake. "There's someone outside," I whispered. At first he thought I was messing with him, but when he heard the knocking, he sat straight up. We crept back to the living room together, and that's when we realized something worse. The knocking wasn't at the front door anymore. It was at the back, the door that led to the dock. We froze. Neither of us wanted to go near it. The sound echoed through the thin walls, a deliberate rhythm, taunting us. We didn't turn on the lights. We didn't want whoever it was to know where we were standing. Then, silence. For a moment I thought maybe they were gone. But the silence was worse, because now we couldn't tell where they were. My cousin whispered that we should grab the old rifle his dad kept in the hall closet. I hated the idea, but something in my gut told me this wasn't just some drunk fisherman stumbling onto the wrong property. As he unlocked the case, we both heard it, not knocking this time, but footsteps on the wooden boards of the dock. Slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth. The boards creaked under the weight. Whoever it was heavy. We didn't dare open the curtains, didn't dare peek outside. We just listened. Step, step, step. Then silence again. We sat there, not moving, not breathing. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, no. We heard the footsteps move away, back into the woods, fading until they were gone. We didn't sleep the rest of that night. We just sat there, waiting for the sound to return. By morning, the world felt normal again. The sun poured through the windows. Birds were singing. The lake sparkled like nothing had happened. But when we stepped outside, our stomachs dropped. On the dock, in the damp wood, were footprints, bare, large, and leading straight from the water. That day we packed up. We didn't stay for the rest of the week, and even now, years later, I still wonder who or what was knocking and why. Did it come from the water?
It was the middle of July. The heat clung to everything. Fields of corn stretched for miles. Green walls under the burning sun. My friend Jake had a farmhouse out there. His family had lived on that land for generations. Old barns, rusted silos, and endless fields. He invited me to stay for a few nights. Peaceful, he said. Quiet. I should have known better. The first day was normal. We rode bikes down dusty roads, drank lemonade on the porch, watched fireflies after dark. But that night, something changed. It started with the dogs. They wouldn't stop barking. They faced the cornfield, growling, snapping, tails stiff. Nothing moved out there, just the tall stalks swaying in the warm wind. But the dogs knew. Jake tried to calm them down. Said coyotes sometimes wandered close. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. The air inside was too still, too heavy. I got up for water, and from the kitchen window, I saw it. A figure, standing at the edge of the corn, not moving, not speaking, just watching. My first thought was scarecrow. But we didn't have one. Jake's family never used them. The figure was tall, shoulders hunched, face in shadow. The moon lit up the field behind him, but his body seemed darker than the night. I blinked, and he was gone. The next morning, I told Jake. He laughed it off. Probably just a farmhand cutting through, he said. But there was no road nearby, no reason for anyone to be in that field. The dogs barked again that evening. Same direction, same low growl. And when night fell, the figure came back. This time I wasn't the only one who saw it. Jake froze at the window beside me. We both stared at the edge of the field. He didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there, watching. We turned off the lights, hoped he would go away. But after midnight, we heard footsteps, slow, crunching over dry dirt, circling the farmhouse. We stayed quiet. He never knocked, never tried the door, just walked, and walked, and walked. Then silence. I didn't sleep at all. By the third night, Jake was on edge. He kept the rifle by the door, double-checked the locks. We sat in the living room, lights off, waiting. At 2 a.m., we heard it again. But not footsteps this time. Whispering, faint, low, carried through the cracks in the windows. We pressed our ears to the glass. The words were impossible to make out. But they were everywhere, all around the house. A chorus of whispers, men, women, children, layered on top of each other. And then, a knock, not on the door, on the window, right beside Jake's head. We jumped back. Curtains swayed, but nothing was there. The dogs went insane, barking, scratching at the door, tails tucked between their legs. Jake finally shouted into the night, "Get the hell off my property!" The whispers stopped. The air went dead quiet. And from the cornfield, a single voice answered, "You're not alone." We didn't wait for morning. We grabbed what we could, jumped in the truck, drove down the dirt road until the house was just a speck behind us. When we finally stopped at a diner off the highway, the dogs wouldn't get out of the truck. They just stared back in the direction of the farmhouse, whining. Jake's family sold the place the next summer. He never went back. Sometimes, I still dream about that night. The whispers, the figure, the voice, and I wonder, if we hadn't left when we did, what would have come out of that corn?
It was late August. Summer was ending. The air was thick with humidity and silence. I was driving home from visiting family. A long stretch of highway, hours of nothing but trees, asphalt, and the hum of tires. Around midnight, I felt my eyes getting heavy. Too heavy. I knew I had to stop. That's when I saw the sign. Rest area, 2 miles. The place was nearly empty when I pulled in, one flickering streetlight, an old brick building with bathrooms, a row of vending machines glowing faintly in the dark, no other cars, just mine, and a heavy stillness. I parked beneath the broken light, told myself I'd only rest for a few minutes, but as soon as I cut the engine, I felt it, that prickle on the back of my neck, like someone was already watching me. I got out to stretch my legs. The air was warm, but the silence was suffocating. Cicadas buzzed faintly in the distance. But here, right here, it was too quiet. I glanced at the building. The bathroom door creaked open just slightly, then stopped. Dark inside, no light. I told myself it was the wind, but there was no wind. I bought a soda from the vending machine. The can clattered loudly, echoing through the empty lot. I flinched, suddenly aware of how exposed I was. When I turned back toward my car, I froze. There was another vehicle now, a van, old, white, paint peeling off the sides. It hadn't been there when I arrived, and yet I hadn't heard it pull in. The van was parked 2 spaces away, engine off, windows tinted black. I waited, expected someone to get out, but nobody did. I climbed back into my car, locked the doors, tried to laugh it off, but then the van's headlights flicked on. They didn't move, they just stayed on, blinding. I couldn't see inside, couldn't see if someone was staring back at me. Minutes passed. My heart was racing. Sweat trickled down my neck. And then, the van door slid open. A figure stepped out, tall, broad shoulders, head tilted slightly as if studying me. I couldn't see his face, just his outline in the glare of the lights. He didn't move closer, didn't wave, didn't speak. He just stood there, watching. I started the engine. My hands were shaking. I threw the car into reverse. The figure finally moved, slowly, 1 step, then another, toward my car. I slammed it into drive, pulled out so fast gravel sprayed behind me. In the rearview mirror, I saw him, standing under the streetlight now, head still tilted, and behind him, the van door still wide open. For miles I didn't see another car, just black highway, and trees swallowing the road. I tried to calm down, told myself it was nothing, some traveler, some stranger, but 20 minutes later, my stomach dropped. Headlights in the mirror, a van, white, old, closing the distance fast. I pressed the accelerator. The van matched my speed, every turn, every swerve. It stayed behind me, close enough that I could almost see the driver's silhouette through the glare. I dialed 911, but the call wouldn't connect. No signal on that stretch of road. The van inched closer, closer. Finally, I spotted an exit sign, gas station, half a mile. I took it without slowing down. My tires screeched as I turned onto the ramp. The van followed. At the bottom of the ramp, bright lights, a gas station, glowing like salvation. Several cars parked out front, people inside. I swerved in, jumped out before my car even stopped moving, ran straight inside. Through the glass doors, I saw the van pull in, saw the driver, a man, pale skin, shaved head, eyes too wide, too empty. He stared at me, then at the people inside the store, and slowly, without a word, he backed out, pulled onto the highway, and disappeared into the night. I filed a report. State police searched that stretch of road, searched the rest stop. The van was never found. Neither was the man. Now, every time I drive at night, every time I see an empty rest stop or a white van parked alone, I remember that face, that stare, and the silence that clung to me like a warning. Some nights, I still dream I never made it to that gas station,